What's up, soldiers? Your boy Chris here, vibes it up in the kitchen. Friday afternoon, jonesing for some Caribbean style soup, but nothing in the cupboard except, well, I find some ingredients there. We're gonna do a basic something, but you're gonna like this one, man. Give it a try. Yeah, so let me go. Here I've got 1 pound, well, just over 1 pound of salted pigtail. I asked my butcher to cut it for me because cutting it with your normal chef knife is not gonna work. There's a hard bone in there. Just gonna rinse it out and wash it with some lime juice and water. And then we're gonna sort of pre-boil it to take most of that salt out. Also over here I have just over 1.5 cups of black-eye peas soaking in water. About an hour or so, 2 hours overnight would be best, but in my case here, I forgot to do it last night. So an hour and a half. In the same pot I'll be making my soup, so my big soup pot, I'm bringing up some water to a boil here, and I've got that salted pigtail in there. When it comes to a boil, reduce it to a sort of a rolling boil and let it go for about 15 minutes. If you're going to be using more than 1 pound of that salted pigtail, I would recommend cooking it for about half an hour before we start making the soup, because then you'll be dealing with a lot more salt and you want to remove all that salt. It's been going now for about 15 minutes, so all we're going to do now, I'm going to turn my heat down. I'm going to empty that out, drain it, and then I'm going to put the pot back onto the stove. Same pot, we need 13 more pot, and we're going to go in with a little bit of vegetable oil to get that flavor base going. I'm going to go in with some vegetable oil, as I said, about a tablespoon or so. And now it's all about that flavor, so we're going to go in. I have here 4 cloves of garlic that I just smashed with my knife. That's all going to cook down, that's cool. 1 large onion that I diced up. Some black pepper. I've got 2 scallions that I chopped up, and about 2 tablespoons of parsley for a bit more flavor. And you can't be Caribbean without some fresh thyme. We love our fresh thyme, so about 4 sprigs of fresh thyme. And I've got here some allspice berries. Just gonna go in with about 3 medium-sized allspice berries. Low heat, and you just want to sweat that down for about 3 or 4 minutes. I just want to quickly say that this soup, I will not be using our traditional ground provisions in this soup. It is the middle of winter here in Canada, and though I can get my green banana, my yam, my dasheen, my eddos, it is very expensive. So you won't be seeing it making an appearance in this soup. Nonetheless, don't sleep on this one. This one here is a wicked soup. Soup Saturdays will never be the same again. It's now time to add back the salted pigtail, which we pre-cooked, into the pot. And we're also going to go in with the black-eyed peas. I'm going to turn my heat up now to high, and I'm going to go in with some coconut milk, so 1 can of coconut milk. We want to bring that up to a boil, and I've also got boiling water out of the kettle. Just going to go with a bit more water and then bring that up to a boil, and then we're going to reduce it to a simmer. As it comes up to a boil, I'm just going to go in with a whole scotch bonnet pepper. Just float that in there. If you want that heat, you can break it later on and it will release all that fire. If you don't want the heat, you can fish it out later on and put it aside. You can also chop up that pepper if you want. It's totally up to you, but this is the way I like doing it. I'm getting the flavor without that raw heat. You will notice that I didn't add any salt to this. The remaining salt in that salted pigtail will be enough to season this perfectly for me. However, near the end, I recommend you taste it and adjust it accordingly. At this point, I will also go in with 1 chopped carrot. And by all means, if you have access to ground provisions, later on you can add it. yam, dasheen, cassava, whatever you want, you can add it in here. Green bananas, big things, man. Couple things I must mention when making Caribbean type soup. One, you need a massive pot, and no matter how big that pot is, it still never seems to be big enough. And the other thing is, for non-Caribbean people, you will notice this is going to be thick and heavy like what most North Americans and Europeans call a stew. This is soup for us. At this point, two things which is relatively cheap and readily available right now. Pumpkin. So I'm going to go in with some pumpkin. And I cut it up into big pieces because as it cooks, I want it to break down and that'll really thicken up this soup. And I've got here some okra, or okra as it's known in most places. As it comes up to a boil there, as I said, we're going to reduce the heat and let it simmer, let it go slowly for about an hour and a half. As the soup bubbles away, you're going to notice some sort of foamy, frothy stuff on the top. You just want to use your spoon and try not to get any of your, well, it's going to be hard, but any of your parsley and stuff like that. But you just want to get that and skim that off, toss it out, give it a good stir, and let that continue cooking. The soup has been going now for about an hour and 20 minutes or so, hour and 25 minutes. I've got 1 cup of all-purpose flour in here. I'm going to go in with a pinch of salt, and we're just making some flour, some plain flour dumplings, and I like adding a little bit of sugar to it. A little bit more salt. I'm just going to mix that up with my fork. I'm going to add a little bit of water at a time just to create a sort of a sticky, between sticky and firm dough. And that's about, I would say about 1/4 cup of water that I started with. And after I've moved this around with the fork a bit, then I'm going to go on my hands, work that until you've got that dough. Put some cling wrap over it and let that sit for about 5 minutes. After about an hour and a half, should get nice tender peas. Hot. But the pumpkin is going to start falling apart. Everything is going to get nice and thick. Once we add the flour dumplings to here, it's going to get even more thick. Here is where I would recommend taking that scotch bonnet pepper, tossing it out if you want. In my case, I want that Caribbean sunshine, so I'm just going to break it and let that do its thing in here. Now it's all about adding the flour dumplings. All I want to do here now is just pinch off little pieces and then make it into a little ball and then roll it between your fingers. This is what we call spinners. It looks like a somewhat short stubby cigarette. I'm just going to add that to the pot, and that's all we're going to keep doing here now is pinch off little pieces, make that ball, and then roll it into these spinner dumplings. I've gone ahead and added the flour dumplings, and you will start seeing them floating to the top. That means they're fully cooked. It'll only take about 5 to 7 minutes for them to fully cook all the way through. Taste it for salt at this point here and adjust it accordingly. Remember, I didn't add any salt. Let it go for another 5 or 6 minutes. Turn off your stove, and here, man, wicked soup here, you know. Mother Nature and she winter could hardly look here. Oh, don't forget that allspice berry that we put in there. Take that out. You don't really want to chew into that. Chris here, CaribbeanPod.com. Always a pleasure to have you guys here in the kitchen with me. Bless that, man. Enjoy the soup.